Good evening. I was having a strange intro there because it was freezing for me. I don't know about anybody else, but we are in. So, welcome to NUFC Matters, the home of the 5 Minute Rant, the fans forum, and oh, what a weekend it's been! It has been a fantastic weekend. Finally, got that all important win that we needed. And yeah, we are absolutely 100% back to winning ways, just as we needed it. So, welcome you guys to the show. It's great to have you with us, and we've got a number of guests that are waiting to get going. But at the moment, we've got a few guests. We've got Holly with us. Holly's just dropped out a second. Having a few technical problems here, but yeah, we'll keep cracking on. I'm sure Holly will be back in a second because we've had one or two technical issues in the build up to the show, but we'll get going very shortly. But before we get into the results on Saturday, everything all right, Holly?
Yeah, I can see now.
Don't worry, it was something wrong with my intro before, and then I think we passed it on to you, so then you had some problems. So it's been a bit of a unusual start, but we'll keep rolling with it. But I was just saying, just before we get into the fantastic result, and you'll know more so than anyone because you were there at Ellen Road. But I just wanted to say, obviously, it's for anyone that knew Chris, it's an important day today. It was his service, obviously, just over a week since Chris A passed away. Still a very difficult period for anyone that knew him. For myself, for Holly, and for everyone at NUFC Matters and Loaded that were associated with Chris A. It's been a really difficult time. But yes, his family have had the service today. We just want to send all our best wishes to Chris A's family and close ones. It's a really strange sort of situation being on NUFC Matters fans forum, the 5 Minute Rant, and not having Chris with us. He was a regular visitor to the show. He would always give his views, always have his opinions, and always do it with a smile and with a joke, and it always made the show a little bit better and a little bit more of a happier place. So I think it was important to say that message to Chris. Obviously, he's still in our thoughts, will always be in our thoughts. And it was just a fantastic opportunity I had personally to have the times that I had with him, to spend with him, to chat to him. The last time, funny enough, I saw him, and I've got a picture of it here, was at outside the Emirates Stadium before the game. Now, a strange story here is that like Chris never had a ticket. And this was a running theme with Chris, is that he would always pop up to these away games, particularly in London, and he would never have a ticket for the game. But the great thing about Chris is that even though he didn't have a ticket, even though he wasn't there, and to be part of the games, he would always meet up. He would always be there to have a chat. And after this picture, when we first got there, Chris was waiting to see if the box office would open up and give him a ticket, and they told him 2 or 3 times before, we've got no tickets, you're not going to be able to get in. But he still persisted, and we ended up walking around the Emirates Stadium for about an hour, just chatting about life, chatting about the Middle East, chatting about the takeover and what had been, looking to the future of Newcastle, and it was just such a great hour to spend with him and just have a bit of a chat. And that was Chris in a nutshell. He always had time for people, always had time to spare. And the strange thing about it is that I had my ticket for the away end and went in, and he left me at that point and then just went home. And that was just Chris. Like, that was just Chris in a nutshell. Like, he just wanted to be in and amongst things, in and around the away atmosphere and the feeling. And you know, like I say, I definitely sort of cherish those moments. Or however strange they were very much this moment. So, yeah. So send our best wishes to his family. Like I say, he'll be always in our thoughts. And yeah, you know, we'll keep supporting Newcastle and do everything for him moving forward. So yeah, anything you want to share quickly, Holly, with regards to Chris Day? Because I know you knew him really well as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone could tell how passionate about Newcastle Chris was, coming on the 5-minute rant on a regular basis. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, he was on with us sharing his thoughts, and it just felt so surreal when we got that message only a week later. We saw him in Newcastle when he came up for the NUFC Matters Christmas party, having a laugh and a joke. And I think he was just a very down-to-earth guy, someone that was always up for a laugh, and someone that'll definitely be missed by the NUFC Matters community.
Yeah, I would agree, 100%. But like I say, lots and lots of lovely comments in the chat with regards to Chris, and I would expect I would expect nothing less whatsoever. But as always, we will move on. He would have been looking over and watching at Ellen Road with a huge smile on his face, knowing that we needed a massive win. We got a massive win. You were there, Holly, at Ellen Road in the away end, the crazy away end, I might add. I was watching it live on TV, and it looked particularly crazy. Look, a couple of days on now, what are your thoughts about that game? You still on cloud nine?
Yeah, 100%. I am. I think me, my dad, and Steve drove down to the game. We were all miserable, as well as most of the fan base. I think we all predicted a win for Leeds, and then when that free kick went in from John Joe Shelby, we celebrated like we'd won a cup. It was the best away day, I think, for at least 3 or 4 years. And then we were just panicking, as Newcastle do. They tend to throw away leads, so we're like, please hold on to this 1-0 lead, and we got there in the end. And what a 3 points to go into the international break on.
Oh, definitely. You know, I'm sure we're going to get into this in the show, because I'm sure there's a lot of the guests, and there's a few already waiting that are going to talk about this. But you know, it's such a massive win, boost of confidence, a couple of week break, so we've got, at least us as fans can be like walking around buzzing because we won our last game that we played, and it doesn't half make those 2.5 weeks a little bit easier. But as well as that, you know, with the potential signings that hopefully we see come through the door in the next week, that must give them a little bit of a boost as well. Those players that maybe were on the fence slightly, will they sign, will they not? Seeing the way in which we won, the camaraderie of the team, the pictures afterwards, you know, the fact that the picture of the table looks a little bit better, only a point away from getting out of the bottom three. You know, that would definitely, in my opinion, just make them look at things a little bit more favourably. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think we were so close to already kind of being on the verge of getting out of the bottom 3. We weren't very many points adrift, but I could never see us getting the points that we needed. But getting that win and the way in which we did it, the attitude that the team showed, and then just the fans, the support that we gave the team towards the end of the game, I think that's enough to convince anyone to join Newcastle. As well, Kieran Trippier, I thought he had another very good game, speaking very well about the club. And I think seeing how well he's fitted into this Newcastle side will encourage a lot more players to come as well.
I 100% agree. Fantastic performance, in particular from Kieran Trippier. There was no doubt about it. But look, we've got lots of guests that are ready and willing to talk everything Newcastle United, and why wouldn't they? 3 points in the bag. Things are looking brighter. Everyone's happy. And look, there's no better place to start than, you know, one of the fans' favourites of the show. Not been on for a while, but welcoming back. Welcome in.
Yeah. How you
doing, my man?
I'm back, fam. How you doing? Holly? Hope you're good.
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm excited, man. 3 points in the bag. I didn't even watch the game. Like, I watched the last 15 minutes because I figured maybe I'm bad omen for these games. Like, maybe if I don't watch it, we might win. So when we scored, I'm like, oh my God. And like the last 15 minutes were tense, yeah. But not because Leeds were battering us, but because we were just like can we hold this? But if you look at the game without the tension, we were comfortable in that 15 minutes. Like, they didn't know what to do. And that just made me proud, man, because normally we're just, trying to clear it off the line. Someone's going to make a mistake, but everyone put in the shift. Legs were gone. Legs were gone. But it just showed fight, man, and it made me realize, like, a lot of those players who we've been hard on, they still have a part to play, man, and they all showed heart that day. So, everyone should get the credit and, just support the entire team because they all have a key part to play in this survival,
Yeah, and I think you made a really good point, is because, we have been, as a fan base, hard on some of those players. You look at even last season, the way in which we spoke about John Joe Shelby, the being made about Ryan Fraser, Sean Longstaff. We could go through the list, but to be fair to them, every single one of those players put in a shift, like you said. They were absolutely dead on their feet with regards to, just they gave everything in the game and they had nothing left. And this is the question that I want to ask you. Obviously we put that performance in the Ellen Road. It's a massive 3 points. Do you think that crop of players can continue performing at that level?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with new additions and belief. Like, I've just started to understand, like, since the takeover, like, I've been doing a puzzle since the beginning of the year. It's 1,000 pieces. And what it's taught me is life is literally one piece at a time. And I think when we got taken over, we thought there's a bigger picture here. But even that big picture was going to come one piece at a time. And I guess we thought, it would come sooner than whatever. And I get that. But we have to remember, we're just Newcastle. And we're trying to do negotiations with teams like Sevilla. They're like, who are you? We didn't even have your number 2 seasons ago. And now you're calling up our phones like, give me your players. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we had to realize we were not those guys, just because we had money now. Now we're the cool kids. We had to go through that process. And we learned. Remember 2 seasons ago when January transfer window, and we're lucky to just be linked with a loan deal. 31 days and all we get is a loan player, Now we're going for big fish, top players. And this is how you get top players. It's not easy, fam. They're not going to just chuck those players at us. So, yeah, we get those additions in and we keep the crop of those players because that's the base anyway. We will climb that table, but we have to support the team. We can't nitpick at players and be like, he's rubbish and he's that. They all have a part to play. Even Jacob Murphy, fam.
even Jacob Murphy, and I know you've talked about him on our chat quite a bit, so
right.
I know your thoughts on him. But no, I think you made some good points. And Holly, I'll come to you next. Is that obviously Fumby's made some great points with regards to the fact that it is one step at a time, one piece at a time that Fumby talked about, in that we're making those strides. It might not be as quick as what we all wanted, particularly under Eddie Howe. We knew it was going to be difficult, but can you see, Holly, that we're making those steps? And then the second point is that, and I think it's a really good point, that with the transfer windows in previous years, this time last year, we wanted someone like Jesse Lingard and we had no chance of getting him. This time round, it looks like the deal could be done. And that just shows the transition and the transformation that we've made as a club just in that year's time. But what are your thoughts about both those points?
Yeah, I think you spot on with the fact that it's just one step at a time, taking things slowly. I think it's easy to get carried away when you see we've been taken over by the richest owners in the world. You want success overnight sometimes, but it's not realistic. And the only way you're going to have long-term success is to take those little steps and build the solid foundations that we need there. Because you've got to remember as well with Newcastle, the squad on the pitch isn't very good, but there's also so many issues off the pitch which will have to be dealt with in due course. So I think that's certainly a great point from me there. And then also with regards to kind of the signings and stuff, yeah, I mean, you look at Trippier, for example, and Jesse Lingard, who we're linked with, Dali Ali, who we're linked with. A couple of years ago, that would have been just a dream. Never, ever would we think that would actually materialise, but we've got a chance now. And I think that shows the difference. Although it's only been a few months, October, we got took over. I think that shows the difference between then and now. We actually do have a bit of ambition now and we're going places. It might be slow, but it's getting there.
I would agree, and I think that segues nicely to my next point, because look, Fumby, you're coming on the show. I was always going to bring this up because we had a little bit of a debate yesterday with regards to Jesse Lingard and Dele Alli. I can see he's rolling his eyes. Look, have you changed your mind? Because you weren't really.
Hell no.
He was very
Hell
good.
no, you changed my mind.
God. Talk to me then. Look.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? I'm not going to be that Newcastle guy who is just, discarding players now because we got money. It's not that Dele Alli is good enough to have played for Newcastle. But where we're at now, I think Jesse Lingard's the better option. But if we got Ali in, I'll take him. My only problem is, when they say you look in the eyes, but there's just no one home. Yeah. I just look at Dele and I just don't know if he still loves this game. And we don't need kids right now. We don't need, the Panthers. We need players with big drills on because we have a fight ahead of us. You know what I'm saying? And we can't carry Dele Alli, man. We just can't carry him, And that's my concern. It's not about if this was January, if this was August, whatever, man, because then we can just shift him out. But the next 3 months of our season is key. And we just don't need no passengers, man. That's my only fear with Dele Alli.
And you know what? It's a great point. And I was kind of like, it might have seen yesterday when we were chatting that I was kind of, pro Dele Alli, and that wasn't necessarily the case. But I was just trying to give an alternative viewpoint with regards to Jesse Lingard and Dele Alli, because I threw some stats out, Holly. You won't be aware. We had a little bit of a chat. I say a nice warm debate, shall we say, from me about the Dele Alli.
Yeah, it was good. You swayed me with your points because I was like, you know what? I didn't even look at it like that. You see what I'm saying? But I'm just not sure if that person's still home. Whereas Jesse Lingard, I can see when he comes on, he'll still put in a shift. And Newcastle, the distractions are there already. You don't want to bring Dele Alli in. And next thing you know, he's shooting for Geordie Shaw, and then we can't find him no more. Do you know what I mean? And then now we're like, now we're laughing stock again. Newcastle's been a banter club for 14 years. We have to just get it right now. Just get grafters in, low-key players, and we'll start from there. We just don't need it right now. We've got ASM. You've got enough with ASM,
Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong.
And Pete, sorry to cut you, Pete. Yeah, look how Trippier's coming to the team, bruv. He's shown that it's about ball, fam. I'm a leader here. It ain't about partying here. You don't want them men that will come in. You know them boys that want to go samba after every game. You don't want them boys to come in right now.
Last thing we want to be doing is seeing on the Chronicle that Dele Alli's been pulled out of, House of David at 3 in the morning because he's been partying too hard. Face down on the floor in the middle.
Right.
You're absolutely right. But you've raised an interesting point, and I want to get Holly's point on this before we move on. Is that could Trippier, for example, someone that you've talked about, has come in and really kind of hit the ground running, showed those leadership skills? Could he kind of put an arm around Dele Alli and then get the best out of him? We've got to remember, Trippier's not been there for a couple of years, and they're really good friends. And Trippier going has coincided with Dele Alli's drop in form, as well as Pochettino. So could be that thing. But, Holly, Dele Alli, Jesse Lingard, have you got a preference? Ideally, we'd like both, but have you got a preference with regards to who you would choose out the two?
By the way, I just want to clear up that I'm not crying. My eyes just watering really bad. I just want to clear that up.
I don't like Dele Alli that much. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't.
She was moved by my points, Pete.
Yeah. So, sorry, that was so off-putting. Of course, we'd love to get both of those players in. Realistically, I think we'll only get one. I'd actually be more inclined to go for Dele Alli, and obviously people are disagreeing, but I think for me, I think he's a very, very good player. I think we've seen a decline in his performance at Tottenham, but I think the problem is when a player's had a club for too long, they start to kind of give up that effort and that passion that they initially had. I think we've seen it in stages with the likes of John Joe Shelby, someone that was at the club a long time, and I think he just started to get fed up because there was no competition there. He wasn't having to fight for his place in the team, and he just got bored. I think he's had to fight more under Eddie Howe, and that's how his performance has improved. But I think what Dele Alli needs to get the best out of him is to leave Tottenham and come into a new team. And I think then he'll get a burst of life, and I think he will really come in to the best of his form like he did in the past. And I think if he does do that, which I believe he will, I think he'll hit the ground running and make a massive impact in that midfield, especially where we're struggling. And I think he could be like another Kieran Trippier. And I think those two, if they come to the best of their form, will probably, with the help of a few other people, improve their form, be enough to keep us up.
No, I think that's a fair point. That's a fair point. And we'll see how it pans out. Look, ideally, I'd love both in the club. If we get those two in the club, I think we don't just create chances, but we score goals on the back of those two playing football for Newcastle United. There's no doubt about it. So fingers crossed that will materialise this week, and we'll be waiting with interest to see how that materialises. But look, Funby, absolute pleasure to have you back on with us. Massively appreciate you taking the time, as always.
Thank you, man.
Definitely a back of the net showing, and you deserve one of these.
Thanks, man.
My sound's gone.
Yeah, really
back.
Look, guys in the chat, we apologise. No videos tonight because I don't know what's going on with them, but they're certainly not working for me. So we're just not going to go there at all. But we'll see how that goes. But Funby, absolute pleasure. Great talking point with regards to being a puzzle and it taking time. Sometimes we get a little bit impatient and we want things straight away, and I think we can really start to see Eddie Howe's ability sort of starting to take shape now. So we'll see how that kind of progresses. But look, we're going to keep cracking on, and we've got another guest waiting for us, and he's a regular, and he always makes some fantastic points. So welcome in, Alan. How you doing, Alan?
Cheers, Ollie. Cheers, Pete. Great to hear from me again. I haven't seen him for a long time. Just cracking on. I'll try and get as many points as I can. Fantastic win, Holly, Pete. Fantastic. I watched the Thursday night show with McDonald and John Gibson, and I actually phoned Samaritans up to and they said put a bet on Newcastle to win. So I did that. So I'm a bit richer. Thank you, John and Malcolm, for that, because I thought, dear me, we're only 2 points off safety, and the had were relegated as far as I was concerned. So Holly, I know you were all doom and gloom in the car, but I thought with everybody, typical Newcastle, I'm putting a bet on them to win. And sure enough, with the bookmaker being a Leeds fan as well, it didn't go too well handing over the money either. So I watched Match of the Day for the first time in a couple of months. It was great. Absolutely brilliant to watch Match of the Day. Points on the games, lads. I thought Trippier was immense again. It was nice to see Mancur get the credit that he deserved when he come on. Obviously, Holly, you would have seen it more than me. I've just seen the highlights of the games. Also, Chris Wood did look, like slow, and people are already getting on his case about how we. But I think there was a great point made by the great Nick Lewis. He's never known the expectation level. He's never been at a club with 52,000 fans, and he's expected to perform. I mean, if you've been at Burnley for 4 or 5 years, I don't think the expectation is apart from staying in the league. Here, he's expected to score goals and get up the league to win trophies, really. So I give the lad a chance. If he scores 15, 20 goals in 2 years with us, I think it's been money well spent. I know probably we've paid £10 million more than we should, but that's the going rate. As the owners have found, it's very hard to get quality players in. I think the Everton game is even more bigger, Pete, Holly. I really do. And I think I'm still on a high. I'm still buzzing after Saturday, but the players have got to calm down. I go in the podcast, Holly, I would have Lingard way above Dele Alli any day of the week. The Tottenham fans would pack his bags and send him to Newcastle free of charge when they talk about Dele Alli. They are not impressed with his attitude at all. So Lingard for me, Holly, if it was a choice between the two, I'd like them both. Probably, Dele Alli could be on Love Island someday or Geordie Shore. But, Lingard would do a job for it. Honestly, Holly, I watched the Everton podcast. they're in meltdown, Pete. Holly, if you ever watch them, they're in meltdown, and this is the best time to play them. And hopefully we'll get a result. They've got quality players, so it's going to be tough, lads. It's not going to be an open game like Leeds was. Everton will have 10 men behind the ball for large periods, and they've got quality players to hurt with, so don't be fooled by that. I think the only time I think Everton are in the relegation scrap, lasses, Holly, is if we beat them. I think if we beat them, then Everton are truly in the relegation battle. I really do. I think they've got enough quality to stay out. But if we beat them, I think they're right in it. As far as transfers, I think this week will decide if we stay up or not. I really do, Holly, Pete. I really do. I think we've got to get 3 people in. Because, make no mistake about it, a great win. I'm not decrying it. But this is the worst Newcastle team I've seen in the Premier League in 30 years, mind. Quality-wise. And we've got to remember that. That was only our second win in 21 games. So we've got to... I'm not trying to dampen enthusiasm because I'm just as high as everybody. But we've got to dampen... We're in a scrap with 4 teams, in my opinion, at the minute. But like I said in previous shows, Pete, I can still see Brentford and Leeds getting into it. I really can. I really can see them being dragged into it. Other teams will always be dragged, but we've got to keep on winning. And Everton's a must-win again. Villa is another tough game. But if we get 4 points out of them 2 games, I'll be delighted. I want 6, man. Don't get us wrong. 6, and I think we could be getting away from the bottom 3. I really do. So I'll probably just leave it at that. I know I can rabbit on for too long. But, I mean, again, another point, lads. Holly, I don't know what you think about the Saudi trip. I've got nothing against it. But, again, the Guardian, the Telegraph, they've got this agenda of keep harping on about the takeover and sports washing. I just don't get it. I just simply don't get it. And the fact that other clubs go to Dubai, go to China, do this for their trips away. And I think they should let it go now. If they break the law, overspend, fine, then we'll get penalised. But politics is a messy business, and back and forwards with political points. I just don't get it. I really don't. So they're making a song and dance about the players going to Saudi, and I think just let them do it. If they come back refreshed and win Everton, I'm all for it. So
I think you made 3 really significant points there that I want to get Holly's opinion on. So as always, some fantastic points. But Holly, from what Alan said, the 3 main things I've taken out of that is one, the Everton game is now becomes a massive game. We win that, we're only a 1 point behind them. And that really drags them into the relegation race. It brings another person, another club in. The second point was from a point of view that this week is massive in terms of today is really kind of blown up with the Diego Costa. Keep saying Diego Costa. It's not Diego Costa. It's Diego Carlos. Diego Carlos deal, the Lingard, the Dele Alli, the Michel Bakker deal apparently not going through now. Lots and lots of movement on a lot of players. It is a massive week for Newcastle United, and as Alan said, could potentially dictate our season. And then the third point is the media outlet are all, well, I say all, but a lot of them are quite negative towards Newcastle with regards to us travelling to Saudi. And I want to get your thoughts on that. But those 3 are the 3 main points. What are your thoughts on that? Starting with Everton being our next game.
Yeah, he's 100% right. There's so much relying on the Everton game because it's all well and good winning that Leeds game, but that's not enough. We now need to use that positivity and that motivation that we've got from winning that game to go on and win Everton. And look, Everton's on a very, very bad run of form. They've struggled, obviously sacked Rafa Benitez. The interim managers lost their first game in charge. So I think it's the best time to play them. I think we're more than capable of beating Everton. And if we do that, then suddenly we're starting to climb the league and relegation's looking less and less likely, which is exactly what we want. Regarding the transfers, I think last week was very disappointing leading up to the Leeds game. I wanted at least 2 signings in, if I'm being honest, and we got no one in that week, which I was surprised at. So I think now this is the key week. We need to probably make a minimum of 3 signings. Just to keep us kind of stable. And I think that will happen. I'd be happy even if we got a few loans in. I think that's all we need. Players that can hit the ground running, do a job till the end of the season. I think we definitely need another striker, someone in midfield, and I'd like a centre-back. I know some people have argued that a centre-back isn't a priority. I still feel like it is. Listen, Fabian Schär, he did very, very well in that game. I think Lascelles did okay. Kieran Clark came on, he did okay. But that's one game. And across the season, I think most of them players have been appalling. So we need someone in because we can't rely on them. At the end of the day, if they go back onto a bad run of form, we'll be conceding the goals and back to square one. And the final point regarding the trip to Saudi, it is ridiculous. I tend to block, mute and not read those kind of news outlets because I think they have had an agenda since October. That's not going to stop, unfortunately. From a footballing perspective, I think it's a good thing. Team bonding, we've got a few new signings in. Obviously, the manager's still fairly new, so it just gives them some quality time to play together. The players that aren't on international duty will be constantly training and keeping their fitness up to scratch leading up to that Everton game. So I think it's a very good thing. And look, we are going to strengthen ties with Saudi Arabia, and that can be a positive thing. We're going to globalise Newcastle, make us more well-known as a football club. And what's the harm in having a few extra fans? I think the political thing is no concern of the average fan.
I totally agree, Holly. I totally agree. I mean, you know, like basically, it saddens me when people start making political points. But regarding the Everton game again, Pete, Holly, I mean, seriously, the Everton fans are in meltdown. I mean, they even one said Big Dunk gone after Saturday's defeat because they rate, you know, they think he's part of the problem over line. I mean, it just reminds me of us who were under 14 years of Ashley, the protests outside the ground, inside the ground, throwing bottles at the Aston Villa players. But, you know, they are there for the take and we've got to take advantage. It's no good coming away with a draw or a hard-line story defeat because then the momentum will change back to the other teams at the bottom. I really do. But also, just for everybody in the chat, and Pete and Holly, you couldn't have said it better. I was really shocked with Chris, the passing of Chris. Really, this shows you how, you know, flimsy life is. And we've all got to enjoy life as best we can while we're here. His comments were great and he kept me going during lockdown for 15 months seeing him. He had great insight into the Middle East and that's what you need. So condolences to his family and friends. So it was really sad. I was really shocked actually on the night, Holly, Pete, when I heard it as well. Like everybody that knew him on the chat, he'd been sadly missed by everybody. And lo and behold, everybody we might have different points of view that we don't agree with. But one thing in common, Chris, like Dave Harrison, we all love Newcastle United. And that's what we've got to remember. We all want the best surely for the club. So I'll leave you on that, Pete, Holly, but a great 3 points. Long may it continue. Keep it going. And I just hope, you know, like we do get 2 or 3 signings and that'll boost the squad even more. I could say 10 more points, Pete, Chris, Holly, sorry. I could say 10 more points, but I know you're busy, so I'll let it go at that.
No problem at all. Well, I think, you know, the points you made about Chris A, I think is a great way to finish on that. And lovely words from yourself, Alan. And as always, fantastic points raised every single week. And we do really appreciate you taking the time to come on and share your opinions.
One final point, Pete. As I mentioned about old fogies, I meant me. So Nathan, Pete, Chris, you are the young guys, and Holly, you're even younger. And the future's looking bright. Future's looking bright for Holly.
I was worried for a second. I'm okay now.
Yeah, you're a young kiddie, as far as I'm concerned, Pete. You're young kiddies, and Holly's even younger. And the future's looking bright for you, Holly. It's a long-term thing. It is. It's a long-term. It won't happen overnight. And Fumby was totally right. And I'm with Fumby. Lingard in. Dele Alli can carry his bags. But there we go. Everybody's got a different opinion.
Thank you. It's true. It'd be very, very boring if everyone had the same opinion. Let's put it that
Exactly.
way. So
Exactly.
this is what makes NUFC social media so great, and this is what makes the NUFC Matters Fans Forum great as well, because we get to share our opinions and give our opinions on the club that we all love. So, Alan, a pleasure as always. I would love to stick a video on there, but I'm not even going to take the risk because it's going to mess up the system and all hell will break loose again. I don't want that to happen. But
No.
look, I'll kind of imitate it. I'll just go,
get in.
That's what
by the way, Pete, them last 10 minutes, Holly, I was in the conservatory. I couldn't bear watching the last 10 minutes. The tension, I'm worse now than when I was 20. If you had seen me in the conservatory, I didn't know the score. I didn't know what it was. And it was till my sister phoned us up that we're going. I couldn't bear it.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, I would rather be in there, Holly. I'd rather be at the match than waiting. And Tim Sherwood was winding me up all the time, saying it's only a matter of time before Leeds score, and I couldn't bear it anymore. I went in after 70. I didn't even know Shelby had scored, so that tells you how bad it was. Never mind.
No worries, Alan. You take care, and
Cheers.
we'll see you hopefully next week. Okay, top man.
Great having you on.
Thanks, Holly.
Oh, sorry, I'm just completely cut him off then. But I think he was going to say keep smiling. So definitely, that is our intention to keep smiling. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not going to talk too much on Tim Sherwood because he has a real dislike to Newcastle, and for the way that we played in the second half, he knew on Sky Sports News. I don't really watch Gillette Soccer Saturday very often because that, for me, it's gone down the pan in the last 5 years. It's just not been the same show. But watch it. I wanted to watch just to see his face when he had to talk about the game because we'd won, and you could see through gritted teeth he had to be positive about Newcastle. You could tell he hated every single moment of it, and I just took so much joy in listening to him having to talk about Newcastle in a positive way. He spoke more about the first half and how Leeds dominated the first half than he did the second half. We won the game in the second half. And that just told you everything you needed to know about Tim Sherwood and his opinions in a pundit. But the less we talk about guys like that, the better. But some fantastic comments. 290 watching, been 300 and above at some points already during the show. Please, please, please give it a like. Make sure that you're giving it a like and a subscribe. Lots of regulars, as always. From my chat that I can see here, we've got Yano, we've got Andy Brett, we've got Jeff, who's also, I think, waiting to come on and share some opinions too. Judy Baker, Tom Dixon, Andrew Bygate, we've got Mark Byers, we've got Rachel, we've got so many regulars and more in the chat. It's a pleasure to have you all in your opinions. I'm just reading them as we're going along. You're making some fantastic points, mostly about the Dele Alli and the Lingard situation. So it'll be an interesting discussion, topic of discussion. But we're going to move on. As always, we've got another guest waiting and another regular, and always again make some fantastic opinions. And welcome in, Tony. How you doing, Tony?
Yeah, not bad. Hi, Pete. Hi, Holly.
Hiya.
Good man. We finally got the win.
Yes. Well, I mean, the thing is, if only we'd hung on against Watford, we'd actually be out that relegation zone.
I know. I don't want to dwell on it.
I don't either. But yeah. That was a fantastic win on Saturday. And, I mean, Leeds, they were huffing, like, first half, they were all over us. I mean, what Dubravka did well, that save he made was absolutely world class off Dan James. The problem for Leeds is they didn't have a striker, that's why. That's why they couldn't stick the ball in the back of the net, thank God. They didn't have Bamford playing. Yeah, I'm not complaining either. But watching the game, when Shelby scored, and I thought, 15 minutes to go, let's hang on now. At least we've scored a little bit later on in the game. The only thing is, I wish we could get a second goal so we make it a little bit more comfortable. But I'll take the 1-0 all day. I mean, I said on Saturday morning I'll take a point. So to get 3 points is even better.
I think most of us would have though, Tony. I mean,
Yeah.
what was your Holly? What was your thoughts going into the game? What were you convinced that we were going to lose, or did you think we might get a point out of the game? I don't think any of us thought we might win.
No, I predicted a 3-0 defeat. I thought there was absolutely no hope whatsoever. Not that that's a surprise, because the whole season I've just had us written off. It's been really, really bad on my part. But yeah, I never saw that coming in a million years.
I still think we'll steal, Polly. Keep the faith. We'll steal. Don't you worry. I think we'll get the few signings we need this week to strengthen the areas where I want to strengthen, and that'll see us all right. If we get Lingard through the door, I'll be happy with that. And he ain't far from Saudi, is he? Because he's only in Dubai.
Great point. I seen on the chat earlier, Mark Byers had mentioned that, and I had seen it earlier on in the day. But it's an interesting point, not too far away from where the players are currently. I actually saw, and I don't know if anyone's seen this either, that there were talks, and I can't remember the outlet that posted this, but there was talks that the medical team or a medical team have left our training camp to go to Dubai in order to kind of do the medical over there, with the view to bring him back over to Saudi. How true that is, we don't know. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but something that's worth kind of noting in the next couple of days. It does seem to be. And I get your thoughts on it, Holly, that this deal seems to be rumbling on nicely to the point where a lot of outlets now are starting to think that this deal is going to get done. Are you of that mindset with regards to Lingard?
Yeah, I think it will happen. I think the break in Saudi is probably a good time to announce it as well. Just get that momentum up back before we're playing again against Everton. And I think a few others will follow suit shortly after. But yeah, I definitely think that deal will materialise sooner rather than later.
I see Sky has said tonight that Sevilla will accept 45 million euros for Carlos.
Yeah, that's the big price.
Yeah.
I mean, go on, Carrie.
We not to see a player plus cash for them, say maybe Almiron, because I think the Spanish league would suit Almiron better. If I'm honest.
Do you think he will leave in this window?
I don't know. That's a thing, yeah. But I think the Spanish league would be more suited for his game.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Holly. What are your thoughts on Miguel Almiron at this stage right now, Holly? Because obviously we've had him for a few years now. He came in with a huge fanfare during Rafa Benitez's last season. It was the marquee signing in the January transfer window, and there are some fans that argue, he's not good enough, or he's just not. He's not got the right end product, and some fans are just saying he needs to be given an opportunity and playing in a better team that you'll see the performances come through. From what you've seen now, certainly this season, what are your thoughts on Miguel Almiron at this stage?
I'm quite disappointed to see what's happened to Almiron, if I'm being honest, because I think when he first came into the side, he played very well in a front three with Rondon and Perez. Then the second season under Steve Bruce, I think he did well. He added goals to his game about halfway through that season and seemed to be doing well. Second season, started to struggle massively, and I think that was down to the formation we were playing at the time. Never really found himself getting back into the team, and I think a lot of the time, especially this season, when he does come on and it's usually off the bench, all he does is run. Really pointless. He adds a lot of pace, but not much else. Doesn't really help us on an attacking sense. He doesn't get the goals and he doesn't provide the goals. He doesn't help anyone out, with assists. So I don't see what he's bringing to this Newcastle side, if I'm being honest, and I would be inclined to let him go.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Tony, because we're talking about on the show tonight about the fact that we could be getting Jesse Lingard and Dele Alli in, and you think there seems to be an idea that we're actually going to go for both. If we go for both, where does that leave Miguel Almiron? Because he's already not getting in the team as it is right now. You throw those two into the mix, two England internationals who are not going to come here to sit on the bench, that are going to come here to play football. What does that mean for Miguel Almiron then?
I can't see him staying, to be honest. But then you've only got a week to get rid of him, haven't you? If not, he's just going to be a squad player, isn't he, till the end of the season?
It's a fair point.
And I mean, if And going back to the Carlos, if we do bring Carlos in, and if Shaw can continue his form like he was on Saturday, I can see them two being a rock at the back. Shaw was absolutely fantastic on Saturday.
He was.
And he was I would definitely give him man of the match. I mean, Trippier was a class as well, class act. You can see that anyway with Trippier. But he played well, Shaw. I was really impressed with him. I was impressed with Lascelles in parts. There was a couple of bits where he made mistakes. Thankfully, it didn't lead to a goal. But, you know, I would rather have Shaw there with Carlos if he does come in. I can still see we're getting Botman at the end of this window. I've got that funny feeling he's going to come in. I don't know about you, Pete.
We all live in hope. We all live in hope.
Yeah.
I talked about the on the Full Loaded Transfer Show. We had Keith Downey on Thursday.
Yeah, I saw that last week.
Yeah, if anyone in the chat hasn't seen it, it's a fantastic show and a really good insight with regards to his version of how the transfer works for him as a reporter on Sky. And the one thing I've reiterated throughout the window is I still believe there's an opportunity to go out there and get Botman. We're going to have to overpay. We're going to have to pay significantly more than what we've bid. Apparently, we've bid around the sort of 30 million mark for him. We'd have to be probably around the 40-45 million pound to get him, which is a significant bid for someone that's 21 years old. But I still believe if we put that money down, that significant amount of money, we could get him, and he would be a terrific signing. But I still fingers crossed about that. You know, will it happen? It's likely not to at the moment because Lille are really kind of putting their foot down, but equally they're struggling for money and they do need them. So like I say, it's one that I'm holding on hope for. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to happen, but I'm holding on hope that is a possibility, because if we got him and Carlos in, that's your centre back pairing set. Like Shaw and Fernandez and Lascelles and Clark then become sort of backup, and you'd probably expect maybe one or two out of the rest of that pack of four that we've talked about, probably one or two of them to move on because they're just not going to get game time. So it's an interesting one. But Tony's made a good point there. Holly, with regards to Lascelles, mentioned that he played well in patches. Have you, not just from Leeds, but have you seen a bit of an improvement of it in his game in the last recent weeks, or do you still think he's a really sort of a suspect centre back at the moment?
For me, I haven't seen much of an improvement personally. Someone that I want kind of out of the side as soon as possible. I think the first half at Leeds, he did a little bit better, but he still was one of the poorest players on the pitch on the day. And I think to be better for Lascelles, you can still be absolutely rubbish. I think that's the kind of standards he has these days, because ultimately, he did only make one mistake in that Leeds game, but the one mistake that he did make almost led to a goal, and that's a pattern that we consistently see with Jamal Lascelles. Every mistake he makes either leads to a goal or almost leads to a goal, puts so much pressure on the goalkeeper, and I just think that we can't afford those type of risks with players, especially when we're finding ourselves in the fight and in the position that we are currently. So for me, I really, really don't want him back in the side.
No, I don't know that, to be honest. I just thought on Saturday he just sort of played a little bit better. Not a massive improvement, but just a little bit. There was little bits there, but he still doesn't convince me anyway. I mean, I was at the match against Watford and he was poor then, and he's been poor for a long time now. I think he's now past his sell-by date, and he really...
Yeah.
He's championship... He's lower table championship at best now.
I'm inclined to agree, and I do think the captaincy and his guaranteed position at the club is definitely in question at the moment. But the big question is from Paul Gibson, and he's put, who's got the best wallpaper, Pete or Tony? Now, look, I'm always going to back myself. I'm always going to back the New York special at the back here. But Tony, I'm going to give you opportunity. Who's got the best wallpaper, me or you?
Mine just got like hearts and stones on the back, gravel. So yeah, that's what the missus wanted. So that's what the missus got.
mine's partly black and white. So I'm going to say that just because of obviously our famous colours. I've got to go with that. Of course I am. Holly, you got an opinion?
I think they're both very different tastes, Pete, but I'll let you have the winner since it's got the black and white on there.
Yeah,
Of course. Thank you, Paul Gibson, for that comment. As always, always with the good comments in there.
but going back to
Tony,
Aaron's
last thing, we've got a couple of guests waiting, more than a couple of guests waiting. But yeah, last point, go on.
Yeah, going back to Aaron's comment, yeah, he's right. The Everton game is absolutely massive now.
Yeah.
And then we've got Villa, haven't we? And then we've got West Ham away. West Ham away on my birthday, so they best not lose that game.
Oh, massive.
I turned 50 on that day as well, so they best not lose.
A massive game for more than one reason for you then, Tony. And it's the early kickoff as well. So
in that we do well down at West Ham, though, don't we? So we don't have a bad record down there.
We do, and West Ham at the moment are in and out in terms of performances. They're not being as consistent as what we saw early on in the season. So let's hope that with an early kickoff, that they're not at the races and we can take advantage of that. And the last thing I would want, Tony, is your birthday to be ruined by 2:30 on a Saturday afternoon. That's the worst thing that I could ask of anybody. But look, Tony, I know we've got a couple waiting, so we'll leave it there. But
I'm going to dart
points, as always, mate. Like I say, no videos today because otherwise we'll shut down.
Well,
but,
funny enough, my teammate I'm picking up when I go to darts tonight there, he's a Leeds fan, so it's going to be quiet in the car with him.
Well, I'm gonna let you go and get him now, so you can have some extra time with him, just to rub it in a little bit more.
I'll be rubbing it in, you worry.
Onto the darts, but Tony, absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us. Great points as always, and hopefully we'll see you next week, mate.
You will do. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Ollie.
No problem. Take care, Tony. See you later. Great to have Tony on, and it was great to win the wallpaper debate. Thank you for that ball. Absolutely spot on. Any type of.
I think my walls win overall, though. I mean, come on.
Well, of course, it's got the badge, it's the black and white, of course. But Holly, you weren't in the running, so I'm not adding that into the equation. We're talking about mine and Tony, but yeah, you are right. You're 100% win that hands down. But some great points in the chat. There's a couple of questions that I just want to flick through and get to before we get the next one on. Paul Gibson again. Uncle Shelvo will be looking for an England call up next. Gareth Southgate was at the game. He was watching on Saturday, probably for a Leeds player, but typically we outshone them and probably still won't get in the England squad. But interesting one from Mark Byers here. It says, lots being made of Joe Linton's transformation under Howe, but Fraser and Shelvey have also massively improved. Fraser was a warrior on Saturday. Look, I'm inclined to agree with Mark on those points. There has been a lot of big talk about Joe Linton and his transformation, rightly so. He's got his own song now. He's even got his own flag in the corner of the Gallagher, as we saw against Watford. But these two boys in Fraser and Shelvey, and I actually had Shelvey as my man of the match for his performance. I thought he was fantastic in midfield on Saturday. But what are your thoughts about Fraser and Shelvey as well as Joe Linton?
I think the reason why Joe Linton's getting most of the spotlight is because he had so much criticism ever since he joined the club. And then to see the massive improvement that he made, I think that's why people are kind of bigging him up so much, because literally he kind of went from arguably one of our worst players to one of our best players. So I think that's why he's getting all the attention. But definitely, I think Brian Fraser has been absolutely amazing the past few games. I think he's made a big impact, kept us in games. And the thing is with Fraser is he grafts, he battles till the end. He doesn't switch off. He constantly keeps up, putting the effort in. He's very consistent. And I think that's exactly what we need. He's the perfect player for a scrappy relegation season. And also John Joe Shelvey. It's annoyed me for years. I've always been quite a Shelvey fan. I think for a few, about a season or a season and a half, he was poor and no one could say anything else than that. But he has improved massively under Eddie Howe. And then the slightest thing he does wrong, I think a lot of people get back on his case and start saying, oh, he's rubbish again. But literally, I think Shelvey has been the best person in that midfield for a couple of months now. And I think that he's constantly playmaking, putting some brilliant passes in there and just contributing a lot towards games. I don't think you can take that away from him.
Yeah, definitely. And long may it continue, because if Shelby's continuing to put in performances like that, then hopefully that will see us winning a lot more matches coming forward. So yeah, great points as always from Mark. And look, let's not beat around the bush. Let's get the main man in, the lover of John Stones and the greatest of all points being made. Let's welcome in Jeff. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm okay, man. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Great to have you on.
We've lost our rock at the back. He limped off.
I
wanted to get that joke in first, but
somebody
else got there. Where to start? I'm going to have a quick run through the players because there's a few things I'd like to say.
Go for it.
First of all, it's almost as if people imagine that other teams don't watch us, right? Everyone knows where our weak spots are. We know where our weak spots are. And so you target Lascelles, you target our left side. And Lascelles did all right, actually, because they didn't target him very well. The game was ahead of him and in the air. And he's great, right? So that was fine. I would like to mention Manquillo, who was smooth, right? He was like a Crienza, a Asian Rioja. He was just like it was on casters. It was lovely. Very encouraging. Joe Linden, I do think he has changed radically since he's got his hair dyed. That is the big thing. He's getting more blonde and he's getting better all the time, right? He's outstanding in that field because you can see him a mile off. I'm very pleased. ASM, going back to talking about, we sit here and talk about what's wrong with our team, and I think the manager does as well. I think that's possibly his job, because ASM was so much more direct, right? And he was releasing the ball way too quickly, right? You released that ball quickly, bang, right? Oh, we're not there yet. And it was quite a long way in before he did his characteristic, pirouette round the corner and fire one in. Mustn't forget Clark. Clark came on. He did all right, really. And it was the 88th minute before he hit the deck, which is quite an achievement. It was the first time he hit the deck was the 88th minute. Well done, lad. Trippier, fantastic. Obviously, he's been reunited with Jones, so he's really going well. So I'm quite pleased with him. And what can I say? Dumb it. Oh, don't know. He did get nutmegged a couple of times, but he sorted that problem out, right? He's got very, 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 very fast elbows, I think. He's a very good man. Yes, who else can I say? Other than that, I think everyone did very well. They all did very well, lads.
And it's nice to say, Jeff, isn't it, that the whole team played well, because we don't always say that every game that Newcastle play, regardless if we get a point or not. It tends to be, it sounds horrible saying, but it tends to be maybe, one or two maybe have had a good game, but the rest have been like really, really poor. So it's nice for us, and nice for you in particular, to talk about so many players that have had a good game for us on Saturday. Yeah,
and another thing, ASM's headband has been getting more restrained, right? And his playing's been getting more restrained. And when we had the tango, he's now got quite very tasteful but quite restrained headband, which is nice to see. I want to make a poke about Willock. He seemed to find himself in that second half. All of a sudden, we could see the player that we'd seen before, making those late runs. And I seem to remember him appearing at the transfer window in January last year.
Yeah.
And one player completely transformed our season. And much as we finished whatever it was, 12th, most of that was Willock. And that was just one player that transformed our season. And I expect us to have 6, 7 at most, but probably 5 or 6 with a couple of loans.
Yeah.
And any more would be probably dangerous. So it might unbalance everything, and you got too many strangers. But that's all. It's all going very well. And I think I'd probably want to mention the fans at this stage. Well done, Holly. Right. First thing I wrote down on my match sheet was, God, you could hear those fans all through the game. Fucking magnificent. And
They must have been good because you don't swear very often, yeah.
You know, and as for this political shit, they bought into our culture. Never forget that. They bought into our culture, and they've opened themselves up to the influence of the Geordies, right? Right. They've opened their aspects for irrespectful culture, right? They don't know what they've let themselves in for. I mean, I'd be worried if I was Saudi. So, getting back to the thing we're not talking about, take one game at a time, right? We've been sat here in the chat trying to be positive. Rachel, people like and Julie, we're pushing this positivity one game at a time, because I can see in every way, we're getting better and better, right? It's still things. If you can't see that we're playing in their half more, I don't know what's going on. And emotionally, it's been difficult for lots of reasons for us, because two objects that lean on each other, you know, we're leaning on the club for our happiness. And if one of them goes, we all move with it. And somehow you've just got to stay strong, right, among yourselves. And in a sense, the thing that happened with Chris is almost like we're channeling all our grief through Chris, you know, and it's such a sad thing. And it's almost symbolic. And I would like to say, I predict that these will be our colours next season. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Are you listening? Right? These will be our colours next season, and we will know why. What else have I got to say? I saw Mick Lowe's. Poor Mick. His chin was on the floor. It's such hard work. He was trying to push a certain person as a potential director of football. And I thought it was a bit funny, really, listing all the wonderful French players we bought. So I listed all the ones we hadn't bought, the ones we bought, because every French player we've bought, it's been good. There's been one that hasn't. You know, that's just the way it is. If you're honest with yourselves, you could make a list of at least 6 French players that Carl brought in that weren't very good. Yeah. About anything else to say? Probably not. I'd probably sell a not. We have to stay positive. That's all I can say. I'm in there in the chat. I'm trying to do emoji subtitles for the hard of hearing. Everything. Come on, we've got to stay positive. We can do it. It's because the other thing is to remember, I think the attitude that we ought to try and cultivate as we redefine our relationship with the club is that we're all part of this family, including the players, right? We're all part of this family. And imagine that when we're talking about the players, they're members of our family. In the same way as we feel grief when one of our, relatives dies in this family, we should be thinking as sympathetically about these people. They're doing their best, right? And I don't think we should be too hard on them. And, I had cramp on Saturday night having watched Fraser. Right. I had cramp. I mean, he was just insane. I've still got it now. I've got a pain in the back of my calf from Saturday night. I'm sure it's psychosomatic in some way. But anyway, thank you very much, everybody. It's been great to come on. And seeing Holly being positive is really good. And, hopefully more singing, better singing in the car on the way down. Yes. Oh, dear.
Well, we'll look. If there's more singing going on, then we know that results are going our way. So yeah, we'll certainly keep our eye out for that. But
Chris would want us to be positive. Chris would want us to be positive.
Oh, definitely.
Right. I'm just trying to remember that. And the other thing is, when anybody starts doing the Newcastle fans shit, right? Do you think of Chris? Think of Dave, and they go, "Fuck off." Right? Don't you dare talk about Newcastle fans, you bunch of morons. Right? Okay. Last word on the subject.
No,
get shut down.
I think that's a great point to finish on. Is that we've mentioned this before, and to be fair, Chris has talked about this before as well. Is that when we're in a position, where we are questioning a lot of things and we are, starting to become a little bit negative, we've got to. Chris has always mentioned that we've got to remember where we came from. 14 years of Mike Ashley, 14 years of being held in a stranglehold. With our club that's dying slowly, becoming a skeleton of itself. It's like, we need to remain positive. Regardless of what happens this season, You know, we are going in the right direction. These owners will steer us in the right direction, and the only way after this season is up, and we will only get better. So, you know, we can't get too down on things. We can't get too impatient. We've been patient for 14 years. I'm sure we can be patient for another 6 months, or if it needs to be another year and 6 months before we play Premier League football again. But I believe we'll stay up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think 6 months down the line will be. Yeah, after Saturday, there's no reason why not. And, you know, just on the positivity point, Holly, you know, what are your thoughts on that? Because, you know, Jeff is a very positive person with regards to Newcastle, and trying to encourage people to stay positive. He's on the chats all the time. He's always, you know, passing his positivity around when he's having conversations with others. You know, do we need to just remember where we come from and just stay patient with things at the moment, Holly?
Oh, 100%. Because although I've been pretty negative in terms of expecting us to get beat every week, I still have been very, very grateful that the takeovers went through, not really getting on the owners' back. I saw 1 or 2 people doing that, which is just ridiculous. They haven't had time to do anything yet. And I think regardless, even if we were to go down this season, this has been my mindset and why I haven't been getting so worried about relegation, even though I pretty much thought we were guaranteed to go down. I think that it's a small price to pay. If they had said a few months ago, would you take new owners and getting relegated, I would have absolutely snapped the hand off for that offer. So I think regardless of what happens this season, it's the long term we need to think of, not the short term, because the short term isn't going to be great.
No,
Scream if you want to go faster.
Yeah, and you know what? I think after this window, and certainly more importantly in the summer, I think that's what's going to be the case, because we're going to be on one hell of a roller coaster ride of emotions.
You're going to have so much to talk about, Pete.
Yeah,
we're going to have to get your big brother in full time, probably. We'll get the good-looking one in. Yeah.
Hey, less of that, Jeff. Come on, man.
Has anybody managed to get off with a Sky correspondent yet, by the way?
No, the
mentioning no names.
Yeah, the loving will continue, I'm sure. But
I'm pretty pleased he's got a dog, actually. That's I was very pleased to discover he's got a dog.
Oh, brilliant. If anyone doesn't
he's
know
got up in my estimation.
Yeah, definitely. If no one knows what we're on about, we talk about the Keith Downing. You haven't seen it.
Just talk among yourselves.
Yeah, it's a very interesting show, not just for transfers, but for lots of other reasons.
They've got fantastic wallpaper as well. Thank you.
Definitely. Oh yeah. Got some.
Yeah. I want a prize.
You'll get one. When John Stones walks through the door, you'll get your prize, mate. Don't worry about that. Yeah. Jeff, absolute pleasure as always. Thank you for joining us. And feel free to come on.
Join me drinking urine. It's great.
Oh my God.
Preferably other people's is always the best. Get a sportsman. Right. They're the best. A good sportsman's urine.
I don't even know what to say to that, Jeff. Yes. What I'm going to say is thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next week, mate.
I don't see you first.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh God, Jeff, don't off make me laugh. What a character. But no, he's always a positive guy. He always likes to keep us positive and keep our sort of thoughts in check, because you know, we can sometimes forget very quickly as football fans, not just as Newcastle fans, as football fans, we always kind of forget very quickly where we've come from. And it was only, you know, a few short months ago that we're in a very, very different position that we are now. And I don't think, you know, in September we could have ever imagined us being in a position where we're about to spend the best part of 38 million on a centre back and spending, you know, potentially or apparently, as it says, a 10 million loan fee on a you know an England international. It's a crazy situation, isn't it, Holly?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's just, that's the thing with football. It moves so quickly. After one game, you're straight thinking about the next game. And although it's only been a few months, people are already, you know, the expectation, the ambitions going up, it's changing. So we just want these players in. And when it's not happening, there's the frustration there. But we do need to just remember, like Jeff said, where we've came from.
Definitely. I would have to agree. Lots and lots of questions in the chat. I've starred a few of them, and I want to get your thoughts on some of these before we wrap up, Holly. But this one here, Botman will be coming in this week, I reckon. What do you think? Do you think the deal's kind of off completely, or do you think we've got a chance, Holly?
You've got to hope, haven't you, that he can come in. If I was to put a bet on it, I'd probably say he's not going to come in. But I think it's not absolutely dead in the water. There's still a little chance there. Yeah,
definitely. And Bazza Dixon said Botman will be a last-minute signing when he pushes for a move for the Toon. Talks again today that Botman, I think he put another Instagram post out with a few words on the caption. I can't remember for the life of me what he put, but it was basically saying that he would rather be sort of looking forward to or being in an environment where he can see his future rather than being stuck where his history is. And he was kind of alluding to the fact that maybe he sees his future elsewhere. And maybe letting Lille know that and making him aware through his Instagram. And we know during this transfer window, he's been very vocal with his Instagram. He was liking pictures of himself wearing the Newcastle top in the build-up to the deal potentially nearly being done a while back. So, it's a very interesting situation that we're in at the moment. Point here from Mike Gent. Well done to Mankilio for the run and earning the free kick. Moments that count. And you know what? I would agree with him. I actually thought he played really well when he came on. Obviously, from you guys being at the ground, what were your thoughts on Mankilio when he came on for Dummett?
Yeah, I thought he did very, very well. I think the thing is with Mankio is he's massively underrated, and I think he's a really good impact player, someone that often comes off the bench and does make a big difference. He can also kind of, although he's, a right back, I think he can get up the pitch as well and help us in that sense. So I think that he did very, very well coming on against Leeds, and I would like to see him starting some games as well. I was quite surprised when Kraft kind of took his place in the side, and I would like to see more of Mankio because I think every time he plays, he never really puts a foot wrong.
You're absolutely right. Mankilio, he never moans. You never hear him coming out in the press saying he's unhappy when he's not playing. He just kind of goes about his business. He'll quite happily sit on the bench, and then when he plays, he comes on and he actually makes a difference in the team. He can play left back, he can play right back. Just recently, he's probably played equally as well in both positions. And he's one of those players for 4.5 million that actually, in my opinion, and I don't know whether you agree with this, but even as we move forward, hopefully into next season, still playing Premier League football, that he could be a really useful squad player that we could use and play here and there as and when we need him. I don't know what your thoughts are of that, or would you prefer him to move on?
No, I'd definitely keep him. I think he's a good squad player to have, someone that we've got a few more years out of yet, I think. And I think we only paid about 4.5 million for him. And that's a bargain, arguably. If you were buying him now, I think we'd be paying a lot more than that, and someone we should definitely keep a hold of.
Yeah, I would agree. 100%. Thoughts from Yano? Longstaff only has 6 months left on his contract. 2 million, I'd take that. Maybe include a sell-on clause. Would you take 2 million for Longstaff with 6 months left? He didn't play bad on Saturday. I know he's been criticised, and I've criticised him too for his performances this season. But for 2 million, would you really sell him with only 6 months left? Would it be worth it?
I don't think that 2 million's a fair evaluation of Sean Longstaff. I think we could get a bit more. I don't think we're going to get double kind of figures. I don't think we're going to get 10 million plus. I think maybe 5 million or something. But I want to keep him till the end of the season, to be honest. He's had kind of 3 or 4 games where he's been okay, the Leeds game being one of them. Apart from that, he has struggled this season. But I think until we bring players in, he's kind of the only person we've really got there available. So you can't just get rid of players and have no one there to kind of replace them. Until the end of the season, I'd definitely be inclined to keep a hold of him. And then after that, I'd probably be looking for a bit more. But he has only got 6 months left on his contract. So it's one of them, isn't it? Because I wouldn't really want to renew his contract, but I think we could get more than 2 million. And I think he'd be a fantastic player in the Championship, by the way.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think he'd be a terrific player in the Championship if that was to happen. I don't believe it would, but it's definitely one to think about. Lee Errington put, we need a backup striker who will poach goals between now and the end of the season to keep us up. Everton, huge game which we need to win. We've been linked with a few strikers. Duvan Zapata. We've been linked with Darwin Núñez. There's been links. Small links with the likes of Origi and one or two others, but do you think there's a real need to get another striker in before the window shuts?
Massively. I think that obviously we've brought in Chris Wood, who isn't really a striker that you can play up top on his own. He struggles a lot on his own when he's isolated, and I think that someone needs to play alongside him in a partnership. We've got Dwight Gale there, who hasn't been getting the game time, and I don't think he's going to get the game time, so I think we need to just kind of write that one off, as much as it's frustrating me, by the way, because I want to see him given a chance. So we need to bring in someone that can work alongside Chris Wood, someone that's got a bit more skill, and can actually kind of go out their way to win the ball, because I feel like Chris Wood, he's quite a slow player. He's good in the air, but he doesn't really have kind of the technicality about his game. And someone like we need to bring in to play alongside him. Otherwise, I just don't think the goals are going to come. I'd be happy with a lone player, because I think, like Chris Wood, we overpaid for him, and I think he was probably not the first choice. We're going to struggle with strikers in a kind of relegation battle season, but someone on loan would be massive.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And like I say, there's been a few murmurings that there's deals looking to be done in that striker department. So it'll be interesting to see how that materialises. There were another links again with Duvan Zapata. What's interesting about that is that it was a loan fee with a view to buy if we stay in the Premier League, looking at sort of like £30 million, which, for him it would be a terrific signing. And then the links with Darwin Núñez, 50 million potentially. I think that'd be a great deal. But let's wait and see. A few more questions. We've got Paul Oxley. Interesting question or interesting point that he's made here. If we're going to call players out, and sorry, don't care if he's a Geordie or not, Paul Dummett is done at this level. No pace or can't pass, terrible. Right, that's a damning verdict on Paul Dummett. Do you share those thoughts, Holly?
No, I completely disagree with Paul. I think that's an awful take. Of course, he's entitled to his opinion. And I know at times it can seem like we're praising a player more, letting them get away with more mistakes because they're a Geordie, but I don't think that's the case with Paul Dummett. He's injured a lot, but when he's came back into that side, he was absolutely fantastic against Watford. Absolutely brilliant. Probably the best in that defence. Tries hard. He's good as a centre-back. He's good as a left-back. He's a versatile player. Always tries his best. And again, another one that's reliable, a bit like a Manquillo. I don't think he ever puts a foot wrong. Yeah, he's a bit slow, but it doesn't really matter in that defence. And I think against Leeds, he was good again. And when he's fit, which granted that is an issue, I think that he's probably one of the best defenders left at the club. Yeah,
no, that's a fair point. Is one of the things that we have to remember, and I think it's an important point, that within the 25-man squad, we need 4 players that are homegrown, that have come through the youth academy. And Paul Dummett is one of them. Sean Longstaff, Matty Longstaff are 2 others. Andy Carroll was before he left. You need those players within the squad, and it's really important. So, it would be quite easy maybe to discard him, because we have now the financial backing to go in and really kind of spend on the left back. But for the reasons you've said, he can play in a number of positions. When fit, he's always reliable. He always puts it at least a 7.5 in terms of his performance. We just need to see him fit now. I don't think he's a regular starter. I think he's a squad player at best because of his injury problems. But I do think, as we saw against Watford, and again before he got injured against Leeds, that he has something to offer. We have to remember, and I don't know whether you saw this on Saturday, Holly, that for long parts of that first half, he was literally playing against 2 Leeds players, because St Maxim wasn't getting back to support him in the same way that Ryan Fraser was getting back to support Kieran Trippier. And at long parts of that first half, when they were playing that cross-field ball over to Rafinha, it was a case of a 2-on-1. Dan James was coming in to support Rafinha, and they were playing it around him relatively easy, but he kind of held his own a lot of that first half too, and he got through that difficult moment. and he was just coming into his own before he got injured, and obviously Manquillo took over. So I think he does deserve a little bit of praise for that, because it was a difficult game for him that he managed to kind of battle through.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Pete, and I did notice that, and I think that's the thing with Paul Dummett is he's asked to do a lot, because also you've got to remember the midfield are not the greatest, the struggle, they don't support the defence, and I think that's part of the problem why we concede so many goals, because there's no one there in front to kind of protect them. They're kind of the first line of call almost, and with Paul Dummett, I think he's always been a physical player. He's always going in for the challenges and the tackles, always going in for 50-50s, trying to win the ball, so that is why he gets injured a lot, and he was asked to do a lot in that game, and I think you can't really fault him, and it was just unfortunate that he got injured.
Yeah, great point, and a great question or great statement there from Paul Oxley. Always value your opinions. This is what it's about. It's about opinions. We don't always agree, but that's the great part, is we get to discuss it and share our opinions about it. One opinion I can agree with is Mark Byers. He says Jeff is bonkers, and he really is. But we love Jeff. He's a fantastic guy, and we love the fact that he's bonkers, because we all need a little bit of cheering up sometimes, particularly being Newcastle fans in the seasons that we've had gone before us. So he always makes us smile and make things a little bit better. That's for sure. Yano's made a good point. Stats for Rachel. So it's played 10, won 2, drew 4, lost 4, 1 point per game average since Howe's arrival. These results will only get better with new recruits. Wilson to come back and Feddy to come back as well, both potentially back in February. So yeah, great points there. Great stats as always, Yano. Fantastic points. And yeah, already some of those stats from Eddie Howe are already better than Steve Bruce's stats before early on in the season, and that's with the very similar squad to play with. So it can only get better, in the football and the style of play is already considerably better than it was previously before Eddie Howe came in to the club. There was a few other questions here that I'm just trying to scroll back and see. I'll just flick through a couple. Doom and gloom merchants need to stop fixating on the negatives. Yeah, I would agree with that. Paul Longstaff had more movement on Saturday. So he goes back to Longstaff. Okay, so he's called him Longstiff, but because he had good movement, he's gone back to Longstaff. Okay, I get it, Paul. Fair play. Okay, there's a Dan here, but for 10 million, I think he's referring to the Lingard loan move. Do you think that's a lot of money for a loan? 10 million to get Lingard in?
Yeah, there's a lot of money for a loan, but I think it's worth paying, and I think we've already seen that we've had to overpay. I think you've got to. The league position isn't particularly attracting players, so you do have to tend to pay over the odds. And I think certainly the price of staying up, which I think he'd help us stay up massively, would be worth paying that 10 million, because it would cost a hell of a lot more to go to the Championship and get promoted.
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely. 130 million for staying in the league, 10 million on a loan fee. I think it's a no-brainer, to be honest. John Justice Allen, always a pleasure to have him in the chat. Botman still alive. Well, I'm glad that he's alive. That's for one thing. But I'm assuming he's talking about the deal that is still alive. And, it's great to hear that could be a potential, because I would love him to come to the club. There's no doubt about it. He's one of those players that I would want more than anybody to sign for Newcastle, because he would be a tremendous centre-back signing for the next 10, 12 years, in my opinion. Jan's put Vlahovic is only 59 million. Get him. If it was that easy, Jan, I think that deal will be done right now. But I don't think there's a question of the fact that we've got the money to get him. I think it's the fact that he is waiting to the summer so he gets more opportunity of Champions League, European teams to sort of have the pick of the bunch. There are a number of strikers that could potentially be moving around in the summer. You've got Haaland, you've got Mbappe, you've got possibly Lewandowski, you've got possibly Harry Kane leaving Chelsea, although he might want to stay now. He's got Conte as manager. But there's potentials. Jonathan David, fantastic young striker at Lille, that will be under the microscope. There'll be a lot of teams interested in him. There's going to be a massive striker merry-go-round in the summer. Alvaro Morata, Max Allegri wants him out of Juventus. Juventus are now interested in getting Vlahovic in as his replacement. There's going to be a lot of movement around, which means higher transfer fees, which means for the agents more money. So I think that's why he maybe isn't going to get done in this window. But Holly, Vlahovic, have you seen much of him? Would you take him at Newcastle?
Haven't seen a great deal of him because I tend not to watch the kind of foreign leagues. I tend to just stick with the Premier League and the Championship. But you know, from what I have seen, I've watched a few highlights clips and stuff. He does seem to be good. 59 million, of course, a lot of money. We have got the money there to spend. I don't think he's going to come in the January window, but would I say no to him? Absolutely not.
No, definitely, I have to agree with that. Junior Turner's put Holly loves Chris Wood. Fact. Is that a fact, Holly?
It's not a fact, but I think it's something to do with the fact that in the car we were singing "Hopelessly Devoted to Wood."
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we had a bit of banter all the time because basically, even before we signed Wood, I was constantly saying I don't want Wood anywhere near Newcastle, and Steve was constantly bigging him up. So it's just kind of rolled on, and I'm trying to play along with it now. But I'm not. Yeah, I hope he does well, but I just don't think he's a way forward.
Yeah, he's a striker that offers something different. Look, he's starting games for us now, but you know, if we get another striker in this window and then Callum Wilson comes back, he will be one of those impact players that comes on that will ruffle some feathers during games where we need to get a result. And I think that's what he's initially been brought in for. But we needed a striker. We had to get him in. It was a deal that had to be done, and I think that's why we've got it done. Vlahovic and Ekitike would scare a lot of teams, or a lot of teams that are absolutely right. If anyone watched Ekitike yesterday against PSG, I know PSG won 4-0 against Ron, but Ekitike, particularly in the first half, caused Sergio Ramos and Marquinhos a lot of problems. He was denied by a lack of service, really poor service from his teammates. But he really looks at 19 years old a talented boy. And there was another guy in the chat that mentioned something similar as well. Mark Byers has come back. I can see what Paul Ox is on about. Defensive wise is good, but Mankiller showed the difference when a fullback is prepared to run and be ambitious. The beauty of that is we've got two different types of fullbacks, because Mankiller does like to get forward. He's got legs on him. He's actually deceptively quite fast and he can travel with the ball. Paul Dummett is just not that. He is just like one of those old school fullbacks that just likes to defend. He likes to get stuck in. He likes to put in a challenge. I'm all for that as well. I think it's nice to have a blend of different types of players. That's for sure. But Dan's got an interesting question. Steve Bruce to Watford. Obviously, Claudio Ranieri's got sacked, which I'm really gutted about. And although I like Claudio Ranieri, I would have liked him to stay at Watford because they would probably end up bottom of the league if Ranieri stayed at the club. So I wouldn't have minded that myself. But obviously they're now looking for their third manager of the season, and who better than Steve Bruce to take the reins? What are your thoughts, Holly?
Yeah, happy days if Steve Bruce gets it, because I think that'll make our relegation fight a lot easier. But I don't think he'll ever get another Premier League job ever again.
No, I would be absolutely stunned if Watford offered him the manager's job. Like you said, and I agree, there is no way he gets another Premier League job again. I'll be shocked if he even gets another job again. I think after that stint at Newcastle would have probably ruined him. I bet he'll get offers at League One, but his pride will mean that he won't take it.
Not gonna lie, I could see him back at Sunderland. Do you not think it'll be a perfect fit?
Yeah, I think it would be a perfect fit. Going from Newcastle and then his next job being Sunderland, I can 100% see that. Do I care? No, because I think if he goes to Sunderland, it would ensure that they continue to stay in League One, which I'd be very happy about. So yeah, I think why not? Let's get that out there. Bruce for Sunderland. I'm sure their fans would love him to come back. Not. I think that would be a very, very interesting one. Right, let me just get through. I think we've got a couple more questions before we wrap up. I think there were a couple more. Let's have a look through. Okay, we wish Steve Bruce all the best in his new job at Watford. Mirdad is been on the chat tonight. He's been messaging a lot, but I think someone's already outed him because I think he made reference to the fact that he was in Saudi, and I think it might have been John Justice Allen to say that
he's also spelt his own name wrong.
Yeah, yeah, that as well, and he's already been pointed out that he's in the country. So yeah, I think that's gone down, not gone down too well. Botman will come. What Byers said, 10 million. Who cares? We're filthy rich. And yeah, I think you speak for all of us, Dan. Hope he comes in quick to get some transfers in. That is reference to, I think, Jesse Lingard. But we'll end that there. Fantastic comments as always, guys, in the chat. Really, really appreciate it. And Holly, thank you for stepping in last minute for us. Before we go, I do need to run this. And the reason why I've not ran it before is because I've literally been worried that it's going to ruin the system because it is a new sponsorship video. So I am going to play it now in the hope that it works.
Thanks to all our sponsors, Spider VPN for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of the Google search list. They are the boys to trust and will protect your computer from unwanted bugs. Skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen necessities. You can find them at the bottom of Heaton Road, and Google Arcot Interiors. They come up at the top of the Google search list. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Walls and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks also to jabsignature.co.uk for all of the flyers that they do for us. Thanks to Media Arts for all the video work. If you're a first-time visitor to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's it. You can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week, and they are all free. Hit the thumb up underneath the video to like it. Click share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. The show usually goes up 24 hours after the show. If you want to join the NUFC Matters cult and get a cup, a pen, a scarf, and your membership card and entry into the monthly draw, put your phone over this QR code and it will take you straight to the website. Failing that, go to NUFCmatters.com and become a member. If you want to come and see Malcolm MacDonald pre-match or post-match, we are at the Dog and Parrot. It's kid-friendly and it goes great food and beer, and you can come and meet Malcolm in person before the match or after the match during the season. Make a donation to the food bank via nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. The matchday bucket is operational 365 days of the year. If you want to follow us on social media, then go to NUFC Matters. We've got a Facebook group and we've got a Facebook page. And if you're into the true crime stuff that we do, then follow Steve Wraith's True Crime Interviews, and that is a Facebook group. My personal Twitter follow-on page is @Steve Wraith, and Instagram is Steve Wraith. Give me a follow on there too.
Okay. I don't know what's going on here. It's absolutely mad. That whole video that you guys saw, you had the pleasure to see. I didn't, because it literally stuck right at the start of the clip. I knew it would. Holly had to let me know when it finished. So I appreciate that. And that's why Mark says you look a bit pale all of a sudden. Is because I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea. I didn't even see the video. But anyway. Yeah, really appreciate that. Like I say, all the sponsors are there. Keep supporting all the sponsors. They do a fantastic job for NUFC Matters. And we will be back for more NUFC Matters, Fans Forum, 5-minute rant, whatever you want to call it. It's definitely the Fans Forum this week. We'll be back next week for more. Holly, thank you for stepping in for Chris. Chris is okay. She's had a few Avon runs to make tonight. He'll be back next week, no doubt about it. Everyone in the chat, massive thanks. Lots and lots of fantastic questions, as always. And we thank you for your support. But we got the win. Absolutely buzzing. Lots to come. Fingers crossed. At least 3 or 4 signings to just put that cherry on the top and take us through into the second part of the season with lots of confidence. But you guys take care, and we will speak to you soon. Have a great evening.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's